Today on the Morning Edition, your vote, your voice. Alaska's election system could see big changes with an effort once again to repeal ranked choice voting. Find out what that changes in this new ballot initiative that could impact everything from primaries to campaign donations. Plus, overcrowding at the Fairbanks Animal Shelter is forcing heartbreaking decisions. Find out what staff are doing to cope and how you can help save a life. Good Friday morning, everyone. Thanks for waking up with us today. We hope you had a happy new year. We are first alerting you to some freezing temperatures, really extreme cold temperatures in South Central.
We ended 2025 with very cold conditions across the state. We're going to usher in 2026 or continue 2026, or at least the first couple of days with bitter cold conditions that's going to settle in across South Central. Now, we're waking up this morning to 4 below as you head out towards the airport, 10 below here at the station as you head through parts of J-Bear and then out towards Eagle River, East Anchorage. We're also seeing those sub-zero values. And as we welcome in the weekend, really from tonight on into your Saturday night and potentially Sunday morning as well, we'll see those temperatures across South Central drop anywhere from about 20 to 30 below zero. Some of those coldest conditions will be across West Anchorage, out towards northern parts of the Anchorage Bowl, and then into Eagle River and East Anchorage. So be prepared for some of these colder conditions to arrive as we welcome in the weekend. Meanwhile, across the rest of South Central, we've got 21 below in Soldotna, 14 below in Wasilla, 34 below in Golconda. We are also seeing some extreme cold warnings for areas of the Copper River Basin, where we could see temperatures through the weekend dropping as low as 50 to 65 below. So this means that frostbite potential will be a concern through the weekend, where it could easily set in within about a half hour for those exposed skin. So while today we will try to make a run above zero in some areas of South Central, be prepared for at least the next 1 to 3 days where we're going to hold on to those afternoon highs sitting near to sub-zero values as we continue to hold on to the coldest stretch of weather we've seen so far this season. Now, if you're tired of the cold, if you want some snow in the forecast, it is heading our way as we welcome in Sunday. In fact, there are signs that we could even see some 20s returning to South Central, but we have to wait until the middle to the end of next week. But as far as today and into the weekend, we are watching that coldest air of the season, where lows again could be as low as 50 to 60 below through parts of the Copper River Basin. I'll have more on that 7-day forecast coming up.
A man is dead and another injured after an officer-involved shooting on New Year's Day. That's according to Alaska State Troopers, who say officers were called around 11:30 a.m. to a home in Fairbanks being destroyed by 24-year-old William Rexford. Responding troopers say Rexford was experiencing mental health issues and threatening to harm himself. AST says while officers were talking with Rexford, without warning, he ran into the kitchen, grabbed a knife, and then charged toward a trooper with it. That's when AST says multiple troopers fired, striking Rexford and a second man who was inside the home. Troopers say they immediately rendered first aid. Rexford was pronounced dead at the scene, while the second man was taken to the hospital with serious injuries. The troopers involved have been placed on 7 days of administrative leave. The Alaska Bureau of Investigation is investigating the shooting. Meantime, Alaska State Troopers have arrested a man for attempted murder following a SWAT situation off Winch Road in Fairbanks Wednesday. Just before 6 a.m., AST received a report of a man who had been shot. The man fled to a nearby residence and told troopers that 42-year-old Theodore Samsa shot him. The victim was taken to a local hospital and is expected to survive. While on scene, troopers heard gunshots coming from where the shooting happened. The dispatch report states that Samsa barricaded himself in the residence and refused commands to surrender. He allegedly shot several times, including toward troopers. AST says SWAT deployed less lethal munitions, and Samsa eventually surrendered and was taken into custody. Samsa was arrested and charged with first-degree attempted murder. A man was found dead Tuesday on Pennock Island, an island near Ketchikan, according to Alaska State Troopers. AST was notified of the man found dead at 3:42 p.m., according to the AST dispatch report. The body is being sent to the state medical examiner's office for autopsy and identification. An investigation is ongoing. Alaska's Department of Family and Community Service Commissioner is leaving the department to join President Trump's administration. According to a press release from Governor Dunleavy's office, Kim Caval has accepted a position at the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. Dunleavy appointed Kaval as acting commissioner when DFCS launched in July 2022. According to the governor's press release, Kaval laid the foundation for the department, shaping its mission, advancing key initiatives, and guiding statewide policy development. Deputy Commissioner Tracy Dompling will assume the role of acting commissioner following Kaval's departure. A challenge to Alaska's election system is headed to voters. Lieutenant Governor Nancy Dahlstrom confirms a ballot initiative seeking to eliminate the state's open primary system and ranked choice voting has been filed. It would also remove limits on campaign donations and disclosure laws. The Division of Elections verified over 42,000 signatures. That's more than enough to get it on the ballot. Alaskans will vote on this proposition on November 3rd, unless the legislature passes similar laws or adjourns before April 20th of this year. Dog kennels at the Fairbanks Burroughs Animal Shelter are all full as of Wednesday, forcing staff to get creative when new pets are surrendered. From fostering out animals into the community to holding specials where they can be adopted at a lower price, staff at the shelter do what they can to avoid having to euthanize. While rabbits and cats have at times reached capacity, this happens more frequently with dogs. Staff says 17 animals, mostly dogs, have been euthanized since July. Typically animals that are not ideal for adoption due to medical or behavioral issues.
Euthanizing for space is one of the most difficult decisions we have to make here as staff, because we care about the animals, we get attached to the animals, and that's not a good reason, in our minds. It's a really big decision, and to have to make it because you don't have space is really heartbreaking.
Community members are asked to give as much notice as possible when surrendering a pet, and the shelter is always accepting applications to foster. This morning, President Donald Trump's health is making headlines after he gave an interview with the Wall Street Journal discussing his medical tests and routines. It comes as the new year has brought a sharp jump in healthcare premiums for tens of millions of Americans after Affordable Care Act subsidies expired. House lawmakers are expected to vote on the issue when they return this month. Kamal Afzali has more from London.
The stroke of midnight Thursday brought in a new year and wiped out federal subsidies for millions of Americans who buy healthcare coverage through the Affordable Care Act.
It's painful.
For retired Boeing engineer Brad Korb, that means a more than $600 jump in his monthly premiums.
We don't have it in our current income, so, we're going to have to pull money from savings.
Healthcare research nonprofit KFF says, on average, more than 20 million subsidized enrollees in the Affordable Care Act will likely see their premium costs rise by 114% this year. Last fall, congressional Democrats forced a 43-day federal government shutdown over the issue, but lawmakers failed to reach a compromise before the holiday break. The House is expected to vote again later this month.
It was never any good.
President Trump has long been critical of the landmark Obama-era law. He's advocated for healthcare funds to go directly to individuals, not insurance companies.
I want that money to go to the people directly and let the people buy their own healthcare.
President Trump's own health is also making headlines. In a Wall Street Journal interview, he clarified that he had a CT scan, not an MRI, back in October. An imaging test his doctor characterized as, quote, perfectly normal. The president has spent time on the golf course over the holidays. According to the Wall Street Journal, that's the only exercise he likes. Kamal Afzali, CBS News, London.
President Trump also addressed the visible bruising on his hands during the Wall Street Journal interview. He said he bruises easily because of the large amount of aspirin he takes daily. A fire at a mountain resort in Switzerland has claimed at least 40 lives, and authorities worry the death toll could climb. According to authorities, dozens of people are presumed dead and hundreds of others were injured, most of them severely. It's not yet clear how the fire started in the bar called Le Constellation, but officials did say that the blaze apparently triggered the release of and ignition of combustible gases, creating what firefighters call a flashover or a backdraft. They also told reporters that at no moment was there any question of any kind of attack. The investigation into what caused this devastating fire is still in the beginning stages. The nation's largest city had a block party to welcome New York's new mayor, Zohran Mamdani.
I will faithfully discharge the duties
of the office of the mayor of the city of New York.
of the office of the mayor of the city of New York.
He's the youngest mayor to hold the high-profile office in more than a century at 34 years old. He's an immigrant from Africa. He's also the city's first Muslim mayor and the city's first South Asian mayor. Mamdani was sworn in on the steps of New York City Hall by Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders. Very befitting, as both men are progressives whose views run in contrast to today's politics.
When working people stand together, when we don't let them divide us up, there is nothing we cannot accomplish.
During the campaign, Mamdani promised to create a universal child care program, freeze the rent for roughly 2 million rent-stabilized tenants, and make city buses, quote, fast and free. Many elements of his proposed plan, Mamdani said, would be paid for by increasing corporate taxes and taxing wealthy residents, and would likely hinge on the support of the state legislature and the governor. Coming up, many are ditching alcohol for dry January. We'll show you the surprising health benefits and expert tips to help you succeed. That story right after the break.
And bitter cold conditions as we welcome in the weekend. We're first alerting you to those changes. But before we see that, we are going to continue to hold on to some coastal regions, holding on to some winds. Of course, we'll have more on that. But first at sunrise, coming in at 10:12 in Anchorage, 10:55 in Bethel. Your full forecast is next.
Welcome back in on this Friday morning. We are first alerting you to some bitter cold temperatures coming into South Central, Aaron.
Yeah, we've got cold weather advisories from the Anchorage Bowl down through western parts of the Kenai. We've got extreme cold warnings as you head into portions of the Copper River Basin. And these go into effect through the night into the weekend. You can see lows of 20 to 30 below across the western Kenai and Anchorage. Of course, Anchorage will see those lows anywhere from about 20 to 25 below. It's the Kenai that will see the potential for colder conditions. And then lows from 55 to 65 below in the Copper River Basin. Now, we'll also see some cold conditions, bitter cold conditions into the valley, but we're not seeing any of those cold weather advisories. Regardless, you're still going to see the same impacts across the rest of South Central. 40 below in McGrath, 27 below in Utqiagvik, 35 below in Deadhorse. So you can see all of this cold air locked in place to the north that's streaming to the south. So we are going to tap into some of the coldest conditions of the season, as we are going to be watching the potential for about 1 to 3 days where those highs will be sitting at, if not below, 0 degrees. So be prepared for that potential and bundle up if you are going to be outdoors. Still seeing an area of low pressure in the northeastern Gulf of Alaska that is keeping some light precip around, more so out towards southeast, and we've got that ridge of high pressure off towards the north. Now, when we're looking within the upper levels of the atmosphere, notice that jet stream dipping to the southeast. So we're seeing all of this colder air surging in from the northwest, and that's going to continue to reinforce these cold conditions. Now, thankfully, winds are not much of a concern for most of South Central, outside of coastal regions from Seward out towards Whittier and Valdez, where we could still hold on to some gusts of about 30 to 50 miles per hour. But the overall trend shows that cold weather stays with a good portion of the state. We will begin to see some warm weather surging in parts of the Bering Sea and out towards the Aleutians. As comes as that ridge out towards the Bering and the North Pacific is backed off, opening the door for more active weather to return to the forecast, which is some good news in terms of snowfall for South Central. But before we get to that, we do have these cold conditions. Now, notice throughout today, many areas could see those sub-zero values, and then as you wake up tomorrow morning, we've got some of these coldest locations across western parts of the Kenai into the Anchorage Bowl, and even colder as you head into the Copper River Basin. And this will stay with us from Saturday night on into Sunday before we do begin to see a touch of some warmer weather, which will spread back into the region as we welcome in next week. And this comes as we are expected to see the return to some much-needed snowfall across the region. So we're dry through a good portion of the weekend, and then starting Sunday night into Monday, there's our next storm system that will kickstart an active weather pattern across South Central, where we could see several days of some snowfall in the forecast. Until we get there, though, this bitter cold weather stays with us, so we're first alerting you to that cold weather through the overnight hours on into the weekend. And again, be prepared for overnight lows to drop anywhere from about 20 to 35 below or 30 below across western parts of the Kenai. Now, while Ted Stevens may not drop as low, you'll still see portions of the Anchorage Bowl out towards Eagle River, East Anchorage, and out towards J-Bear seeing that potential. But you can see those temperatures steadily warming into next week with, yes, some much-needed snowfall finally heading our way as we welcome in next week. That's also going to bring a touch of warmer air. And by next weekend, Kristen, there is the potential that we could see highs warming into the 20s.
It's a trend that continues to be popular for the new year. Dry January is a time when people start off the new year abstaining from alcohol or simply cutting back on how much they drink for the month. And experts say staying sober for even a short amount of time can help you be healthier. Mandy Gaither has details on the big health benefits of Dry January.
It's a new year, and if you're hoping for a healthier start, experts say to try staying sober.
Dry January is a great opportunity to stop drinking or even reduce your drinking for the month.
Psychologist Katie Wickowitz with the University of New Mexico says abstaining from alcohol even for 4 weeks can make a big difference in your health. She says many people experience sleep improvements, increased energy, weight loss, greater physical activity, and improved well-being in general. But she says giving up those cocktails can be challenging.
Get your friends and family on board with doing it with you so that you have that social connection and that social support to get through the month.
Next, Wickowitz says to know your go-to non-alcoholic beverage, whether it's sparkling water, club soda with lemon, or a mocktail. That way it's easy to order when you're out, or you can stock your fridge at home. She says to also be aware of the hard times during Dry January.
Times when it's challenging might be a great way to reflect on how we're actually maybe relying on alcohol more than we wanted to.
Finally, Wickowitz says if you have a slip up, don't let it derail you.
If you're trying Dry January and you experience a time of drinking, it's totally fine to just start it back up again.
For Health Minute, I'm Mandy Gaither.
Well, for the first time in more than 30 years, the U.S. has surpassed more than 2,000 measles cases. That's according to new data from the CDC. The last time more than 2,000 cases were reported in 1 year was in 1992. Ongoing outbreaks, including in South Carolina, continue to add dozens of cases each week. Measles has been considered eliminated in the U.S. since 2000. However, the U.S. is at risk of losing that elimination status if cases continue to grow through late January. The United States saw nearly 28,000 whooping cough cases in 2025. It's the second year in a row the U.S. has topped 25,000 cases, another sign of the risks of falling vaccination levels. The infection can lead to severe illness or death, especially in young children. 13 deaths from whooping cough were reported in the U.S. in 2025, most of them children under a year old. Last year, 977,000 cases were reported to the World Health Organization, a five-fold increase over 2023.
Thanks for listening to our podcast. Click subscribe so you can get the latest podcasts from Alaska's News Source automatically and stay up to date with breaking news and in-depth reporting available for free 24/7 with the Alaska's News Source app.